What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. That's right, guys. We got aliens versus predators coming to raid. This actually totally caught me by surprise, and I am super excited for this. I'm a huge sci-fi geek. I'm a big aliens versus predators fan, and man, I am super hyped that they actually made this happen in raid. I got full details of the collab here, so I want to share it with you guys in this video. So without further ado, let's get started here. All right, guys, so first things first, the key info here for the campaign is that it's going to start on November 24th and it's going to end February 24th. So that's going to be 3 full months of this campaign. They even got a little tagline here: whoever wins, Telaria loses. We're integrating the fearsome and revered alien and predator into the world of Raid Shadow Legends. If you guys didn't know, the whoever wins, whatever city loses or we loses, that's kind of a tagline for the aliens versus predators franchise. And then we got the hashtag Raid X Alien and Predator. Again, this is super cool. This was something that we totally did not expect, especially happening so quickly after the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collab. All right, guys, let's head into the juicy bits. Here's the visuals of the Xenomorph Alien and the Predator here. We got the Xenomorph. He is part of the Dark Elves. Now, I'm not too sure if I'm disappointed to see it as a Dark Elf. But I'm not sure where the Xenomorph Alien would actually fit in. I was thinking maybe Demon Spawn, but Demon Spawn is kind of filled up to the brim, so definitely spreading out some of the champions definitely makes sense. And I could see how it could make sense in the Dark Elves, especially with the Dark Elf background. It definitely kind of makes sense, you know, the spidery kind of webs and the goo kind of makes sense for the alien. Now let's move on to the Predator here. He is part of the Lizardmen faction. Now I'm not too sure why this would be the case. I mean, you know, it's kind of a stretch to say that he is a lizardman, but honestly, I'm not too sure which faction he would fit in otherwise. Maybe Barbarian, but Barbarian is pretty filled up already. Maybe Ogren tribes, orcs, maybe. But yeah, lizardmen, sure. It's a stretch, but it kind of makes sense. I'm okay with that. Let's go into some details for both of these champions. So the Xenomorph from the Dark Elves will be a legendary magic-based attack champion, and the Predator is going to be a force affinity HP-based champion. I assume both of them will be damage dealers. All right, they talk a little bit further about how these champions will be acquired, and they list the 14-day loyalty program, a champion pass, and other in-game activities and events. So yeah, it looks like we can get them from various ways. Champion availability. Champions will be available to be acquired only during the event activation, so we have 3 months. And then once acquired, champions will stay in the game permanently. Makes sense, similar to all the other collabs that we've had. All right, and in the next slide here is that we are given that the Xenomorph will be part of the loyalty program. So the Xenomorph will be the free champion given from this collab. During the Raid X Alien and Predator integration, all new and existing players will have a chance to obtain Xenomorph via the 14-day loyalty program, aka Xenomorph Chase. Awesome. Just like previous ones that we had to deal with before, we basically log in for 7 days. We're going to get the champion, and then we're going to be able to build up and acquire his 5-star soul. The champion could be claimed on day 7, and his perfect soul will be claimed on day 14. After that, the player can get various in-game resources, including the avatar, by simply logging into the game in Phase 1 or completing certain objectives in Phase 2. Additionally, after collecting the champion, players will be able to share a post on Facebook or Twitter and get some extra rewards. Again, this is very similar to what they've done in previous collabs. Some important dates here. So the start date will be November 14th, brand new collab. That's going to be the start of it. And then enrollment end date. So the last day to actually come into this program will be December 26th. And the end of the free loyalty program Xenomorph will be January 8th. It's a little bit interesting because the entire collab doesn't end until February 24th. It seems quite long. And they are ending this loyalty program, free Xenomorph, January 6th. Or December 26th, actually, because that's the last enrollment date. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know why that's the case. It seems like there's quite a bit of time remaining. But anyways, that's super cool. We have perception gear on the first 7 days. I don't know if that's going to be set in stone or anything like that, but that's really cool to see. Generally speaking, you know, perception gear is just more usable for brand new players, I would think, just across more of their roster. And I do see a primal shard here as well with some accessories for the dark elf. So really, really nice to see that. And here is the full kit breakdown for the Xenomorph. Now this is super exciting, guys. And this guy's kit is absolutely amazing. I'll tell you that right now. But let's go over this. His A1, Tail Stab. Attacks one enemy. Places a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. Places 3 poison debuffs if the attack is critical. Also places Perfect Veil on this champion for 2 turns. He gets 30% damage from 2 books, which is great value. Honestly, you get 3 poisons from this guy on an A1. On an A1, that is absolutely insane. That's an insane amount of poisons landing from an A1 just to have it critical. Like if he's a damage dealer, you're gonna max out his crit anyways. So he's always gonna land 3 poison debuffs. He's an absolute boss killer, a crazy champion, especially for a brand new player when you're trying to deal damage to the clan boss, for example. And all you have to do is get his A1 going and then have 100% crit. You can give him 100% crit and have him with no other attack stat, like no attack, no crit damage, and he's just gonna land poisons for you like no other day. It's just crazy A1, and he places Veil on himself, and the Veil is actually gonna benefit the rest of his kit. His A2, Infestation, 4 turn books down to 3 turns, and he gets 30% damage from 2 books, which is great value again. Attacks 1 enemy. Before attacking, places a stun debuff and an Infest debuff on the target for 2 turns. Now, Infest is a brand new debuff, and we'll go over that in a second here. These debuffs cannot be resisted if this champion is under Perfect Veil. So you can place Perfect Veil on himself with his A1. Also places a Fear debuff on all other enemies for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted if he's under Perfect Veil. There's a passive effect as well on this A2. Revives this champion with 50% HP and 50% turn unit whenever an enemy under an Infest debuff dies. That is so awesome. Let's talk about Infest for a second here. And here it is. It's a brand new debuff just for the Xenomorph. The Xenomorph skill set will introduce a whole new effect, Infest debuff. Whenever an enemy under an Infest debuff dies, deals pure damage to all other alive enemies. This pure damage is equal to 50% of the enemy's max HP, not remaining HP, who died while under the Infest debuff. This pure damage cannot be critical. The pure damage dealt upon killing a boss or its minions cannot exceed more than 1% of their max HP. Now, I assume that if you put an Infest debuff on like a 100k, support champion, and then it dies, it deals 50% of the max HP. So I assume it's going to be 50,000 damage, and that can't be critical or affected by kind of anything. The pure damage upon killing a boss or a minion cannot exceed 1% of their max HP. So it's just a 1% max HP hit across everything. I think that's very interesting and potentially very, very powerful as well. And if we go back here to the passive effect for the Xenomorph, he actually comes back if the enemy dies with the Infest debuff. And the Infest debuff is going to be there for 2 turns. So you're going to be, if that champion dies with the Infest, it's going to splash a bunch of damage to the enemies and you're going to get the Xenomorph back. This is great. I love it. It's very thematic. It fits the Xenomorph. It's awesome. The True Fear fits too. The Perfect Veil fits as well. So far, I just love this whole kit so far from the Xenomorph. And now his A3, Rip and Claw. Attacks 1 enemy twice, deals 15% more damage for each poison debuff on the target. Also places Perfect Veil on himself. It's a 3-turn cooldown. 2 books for 30% damage. Again, great value from damage from books. Now, this could be a really, really hard hitting ability, but I don't see it being like arena focused because it doesn't go through Stone Skin, doesn't have ignore defense or anything like that. And it also requires you to land poisons and all that. So for me, this guy with the poisons and the extra damage and all that, it definitely seems like it's more of a boss type ability, perhaps. Let's go into his passive here. Caustic Blood passive. Whenever this champion is attacked, so if somebody attacks it, has a 25% chance of placing a poison on the attacker. Now, the debuff chance can increase to 50% with 2 books. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked if the attack is critical. I assume when he is attacked by a critical attack, then it cannot be resisted. That's fine. If an enemy is under poison debuff placed by this champion, decrease their defense by 20%. So this passive is a little bit interesting. It requires the Xenomorph to be hit. If they're hit, then stuff can happen. Obviously, we don't want to be hit as a attacked base damage dealer, you know, squishy damage dealer and all that. So I feel like the passive is not going to be super beneficial, but he does have ways to kind of bring himself back with the passive effect from the infestation A2. So we'll have to see how that actually works out. But honestly, his A1 is absolutely insane, especially for a new player. Even if you can't build him out properly, if you build him out with 100% crit rate, and just enough accuracy to properly land all the stuff. Yes, you can rely on the perfect veil condition and all that, but just having a little bit of accuracy so that he lands all these debuffs without, you know, any kind of conditions would make him an absolute damage engine for stuff like Clan Boss, for example, especially the early game, especially brand new players. This guy is basically absolutely insane, and he doesn't require books to land poisons properly. So he doesn't require debuff chance or anything like that to land poisons, which is really good to see. So you technically don't even need to book out his A1 or book him out at all, and his A1's still going to be great. So that's really good, especially for beginner players. So this is the free champion that we're going to be getting, and like I said, it's going to be attainable after 7 days of logging into the game, and his 5-star soul will be available if you complete all the objectives afterward. A 5-star soul for him would be amazing, obviously giving accuracy, crit damage. He's going to damage dealer, he's going to get extra attack, and yeah, it's just going to be really strong. And hey, he's totally free, so that's so awesome. All right guys, let's talk about the Predator here. So the Predator will come as a champion pass. So he is the paywall champion. You have to buy the pass to get the champion here. So during Raid X Alien and Predator integration, all players will be able to obtain the Predator via the champion pass. The champion pass comes in 2 forms. Basic, you can enroll into the champion pass without paying anything. In which case you have to complete 25 levels, get access to standard rewards, which are miscellaneous in-game resources. And we will get the Predator avatar, but not the champion. And then there's 2 different levels to the paid champion pass. Both of the levels will allow you to get the Predator champion at the end. Now that's a bit of a bummer, of course, if you're looking for the Predator without having to, you know, commit money to the pass here. The enrollment date, again, it will start on the November 24th. And the enrollment end date will be January 23rd with the deactivation date on February 24th. So a little bit more time here to pick up the Predator. Now, based on this image here of the pass, I see the Instinct gear set here. So we might be expecting the Instinct Forge Pass to be coming up in the shop pretty soon here. Let's check out the Predator's kit. And this is going to be an HP-based Force Affinity Champion. His A1, Wrist Blades, attacks one enemy, heals this champion by 30% of the damage dealt. There's a passive effect. Whenever this champion successfully evades an enemy skill and all its accompanying effects, counterattack with this ability. He's going to get 30% damage from books here. I mean, this could be interesting. It just refills his life with the A1. Also, the passive ability is pretty cool. Just extra damage, obviously pending the evades. His A2, Smart Disc, 4-turn cooldown, books down to 3 turns, attacks all enemies twice. After hitting the initial selected enemy, all other enemies will be hit in a random order. For the first hit, the damage received by the initial selected enemy will be increased by 75%. Each subsequent enemy hit following the initial hit will receive 15% less bonus damage, reduces to 15% bonus damage. Also, destroys each enemy's max HP by 30% of the damage dealt. For the second hit, the damage received by the initial selected enemy will be increased by 15%. Each subsequent enemy hit following the initial will receive 15% more. This is really interesting. This attack ignores 15% of each target's defense if the champion is under Veil or Perfect Veil. So it's a 2-layer AoE. The first layer, the first target will get the most damage, and then it gets less and less for each target. And then the next hit, the first target that you chose gets the lowest amount of damage, and then each hit will get higher and higher. So it's actually, I don't know why they make it so complicated. I don't know where this would be very effective. Or necessary for it to be this way. It's actually very interesting. And a little bit of ignore defense sprinkled in here with the veil condition. 20% damage from books. Not too bad. We'll have to see how it goes. Let's see his A3 combi stick throw. 4-turn cooldown, books down to 3 turns, attacks 1 enemy. Before attacking, places Hunter's Gaze debuff for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted if this champion is under Veil or Perfect Veil. If this attack kills an enemy, place a block revive on that champion and a Hunter's Gaze debuff on a random alive enemy for 1 turn. The Hunter's Gaze debuff cannot be resisted if this champion is under Veil or Perfect Veil. If this attack does not kill an enemy, places Perfect Veil buff on this champion and fills their turn meter by 50%. So the Hunter's Gaze debuff will basically help the Predator bypass things like unkillable, block damage, increased defense, or ally protection. Problem here is that it is a debuff that you have to land. Although it is irresistible if he's under Veil or Perfect Veil, it's still something like that. So it's unfortunately not just naturally baked into his skill. That would have been really, really nice, but they have to allow, he has to land a debuff for this to work. Block Revive is really nice, and then the reoccurring Hunter's Gaze is really nice as well. But this kind of reliance on the Veil is actually very interesting here. So let's check out his passive. Maybe that's going to help him out. Yacha Cloak. At the start of each round, places a Perfect Veil on the champion. Oh, there you go. Well, the start of each round, he's going to get a Perfect Veil. That's awesome. Before this champion takes a turn, also has an initial 50% chance to evade an enemy skill and all of its accompanying effects. Before this champion takes a turn. Before it takes a turn. Okay, so before he takes a turn, so when he's basically like in a go second situation, he can evade. He has only a 50% chance to evade. This initial chance reduces to 0 after the champion's first turn in a round. Okay, so it only works for 1 turn, similar to like reaction. Whenever this champion kills an enemy, grants this champion a 20% chance to evade enemy skills and accompanying effects. Stacks up to 60%. So he needs to kill an enemy for him to get 20% chance to evade. Okay, so having the built-in kind of 50% evade before he takes turn, that's really nice. That's like basically like reaction. Reaction is very similar, very strong ability before he takes the first turn. The Veil ability is also very strong, so if you were using him in Arena, he's going to start off with the Perfect Veil, which is really good, and then he's going to start off with a little bit of the protection, like Evade. It's only 50% chance, so you can still kill him through it, but it's only a 50% chance. And then if you kill somebody, he gets a 20% chance to evade. And it looks like it's going to be permanent, or it seems like it's going to be. That's really cool, but killing multiple times is going to be difficult. So I'm not going to put too much stock into that reoccurring 20% evade, but that's really cool for him to have. His aura is going to be ally HP in arena battles by 35%. Now that's pretty big. I mean, I love it. I think his kit fits really well with the overall theme of the Predator. His veil is awesome. The mark is awesome. The blades from the spinning disc is awesome. And then of course he has his giant spear, which is really, really cool. What I probably would have liked to see is maybe some kind of self-destruct. Some kind of self-destruct ability or passive would have been really, really cool as well. Or if he had some way to kind of like apply like a meta kit to himself would be cool. I guess his A1 ability to heal himself is kind of like his med kit for himself. That's actually really, really cool. But yeah, I love it. I think they summed it up real nice. They really covered a lot of things for him. What it's going to come down to is his multipliers. So let's test him out and then see what he does when we get access to the test server. Hopefully he's not OP because it's probably going to be very unlikely that I'll ever get this guy because I'm not going to buy the pass, but he probably will be available in some 10x or 15x progressive events eventually. And like with all exclusive champions, they're most likely not going to be busted, but he's probably going to be very, very solid. Just wanted to double check here. The Xenomorph actually doesn't come with an aura, which I think is a big miss here because he could have used like an accuracy aura, maybe a speed aura will work really well for the Xenomorph as well, just to align with, the overall theme of the Xenomorph being fast and elusive. Anyways, I'm loving it right now. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Are you guys excited for this? Do you guys see this coming? I know there's been comments about future collabs and all that, and we're kind of just spitballing. And of course, aliens versus predators. I've heard it before being spitballed into the brainstorming sessions and all that, but I've never actually thought it would actually happen. And it's actually happening. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, I'm pretty pumped up and hyped up for this. Unfortunately, the big thing is that it's a 3-month collab, but it's only going to be 2 champions. Just one is free and one is paid. So it's not as hype worthy for me as like the turtles, for example, because there's so many of them and then there was just more ways to get them. So we're going to have to see if they actually put in some other cool events for the next couple months. Maybe there's some things that they're not announcing right now, but this is all the information I have for you guys right now to share. All right, that's going to be it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Are you guys excited? What do you guys think about the kits and all that? Thanks for watching until the end, guys. Appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. It would really help me out. And I'll see you guys in the next video.